Now, you might remember a while ago we had a look at this bright red Ferguson 3R19 radio from the 1980s, and you might also recall that although I was not particularly complimentary about it in terms of its aesthetics and general build quality, I did comment that it worked pretty well, really, and also that it was the reddest radio I've ever owned. Well, it possibly still is, except that now I've acquired a couple more red radios, and the first one of those is from the 1960s, and we'll have a look at that now. So, here's the Dynatron Gypsy TP16. Quite an old radio, quite for a transistor radio. This would have been the very early 1960s. How can we tell this? Because we don't have things like Radio 1, Radio 2 on it. We have things like the Light program and the Third program and the Home service. So, yes, it's pretty old. Just long wave and medium wave, connected by this switch here. Usual volume and tuning, nothing else apart from a little car aerial socket here. And yeah, you can get the back off by just turning this little clip here, and the back just completely removes, because that's how you change your battery. And because I first looked at this and I thought, these look like PP9 connectors, so PP9 9-volt battery. But wait a minute, here's another one. So is it one of these radios that takes 18 volts, so you need two PP9 batteries? Then I looked at this thing and it says that it requires two Everready PP1 batteries. Well, I had no idea what a PP1 was, and it's a 6-volt battery that you just don't get anymore. So is it just a matter of getting hooking this up to my bench power supply and setting it at 12 volts? Well, no, it's not, because when you look at the circuit diagram of it, you will see that the batteries actually have to be split. There's a center point here that's taken back into the circuit. So I don't have two bench power supplies. What I do have, however, is quite a few of these little battery holders that will take a couple of AAAs. Now, whether that'll be enough current, I suspect it will. If I've got 4 of these, so if I put 2 pairs of these together, I should be able to simulate this. And I thought maybe I'll have to rewire it, but I do actually have somewhere a PP9 adapter as well. So if I wire that up backwards, now I think I've got 2 of those. So if I wire those up backwards to these, I can just wire the these up to the wire ends of the PP9 adapter. You'll see what I mean when I get it done in a few minutes. Right, so I've done a couple of these rigs here. Each of them consists of 2 PP3, dual PP3 battery holders, so we get 4 PP3s, they're giving us 6 volts. I've obviously connected those positive to negative because I need them in series, so there's a negative of this one to positive of this one. And then the second thing, of course, is that you have to also connect positive to negative on this PP9 style adapter, because that has to mate with the opposite end when it gets into the radio. So all I have to do now is find myself 8 AAA batteries. Well, that's depleted the stock of batteries a little bit. I've got them all connected up. These are a bit tight to put together. I don't know if the specs changed over the years since the 1960s, or what these connectors are supposed to be like. Easier to get pandas to mate. Anyway, it's all done now, and well, we get some noise anyway, so it's powering the radio up, which is good. Let's see if we can get some actual radio. I think what I'm going to do eventually is put a couple of 4-way AA battery holders in here, and that will connect them up properly, and then not use these interconnector things, which will make it better and more useful. Quite a lot of volume.
Words cannot adequately express the horror of what has happened today. Right now, my heart goes out to David's family. The Deputy Prime Minister, Dominic Raab, said heartbroken that we've lost a day. And a formidable campaign.
So, yeah, it appears to work on medium wave. Let's try it on long wave.
used to care about what it was. There was once a time when, after it happened, you saw glass up at the sky, trying to get a glimpse of it. A flash of sight is all we wanted. Sublime.
Well, there's a lot of interference, but that's sort of what I'd expect really in here. I'll take it out in the garden and have another go at it.
Sorry that we're having to talk about it.
The Health Secretary Sajid Javid said Sir David had been a great man, a great friend. Lynn Cox, whose wife, the Labour MP Jo Cox, was killed in her constituency 5 years ago.
Great and a great MP. There's more on this breaking story over on sister station Talk Radio.
Talk Sport weather with QuickFit.
US on vaccinated foreign travellers from November the 8th. White House says people will be allowed in by land or
Coronavirus pandemic. And look at the weather.
This is Gold from Global.
vaccination to lose his job following the club's takeover. That's the latest. I'm Georgina Campbell.
Leica Radio, 14:58 AM and Leica Gold, 10:35 AM. A part of the Leica Group.
So yeah, I thought that sounded pretty good really for a radio of that age. I'm very pleased with that one. I'll tidy up the wiring later on and give it a bit of a polish up. I think that will be a pretty good addition to the museum. So here's Red Radio number 3, and this is a Marconi phone. Now Marconi, obviously, a very historic radio company. By this time, the Marconi phone company were part of Thorn, and Thorn also owned Ferguson, who, as we will remember, made about 10 years later Red Radio number 1, which we covered earlier. So yeah, this is a Thorn EMI group thing, and so is the Marconi phone one. So related in some way, but this one is so much better quality. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of hard, cheap plastic on here, but the general quality of the knobs and things is so much better. The thing feels more substantial, really. The handle feels better. There's not bits sticking out everywhere. I quite like the styling. I like the layout of. There's a bit of a scratch on here. Can't do much about that. And unfortunately, all the lettering is right on the front, so you've got to be very careful cleaning this up, because this will just rub off and then it'll be useless. But in general, it looks to be in quite good nick.
Chat to Viv Joyce on the show about being reunited with Cherry. I mean, let's be honest, who would not want a dog called Cherry in the first place? BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, it's Dave.
So that's it on FM. It's pretty good, really. Pretty good sound on FM, I think. Very nice. I mean, it can go quite loud, and it's a very nice tone.
The past couple of days, it's dropped. It's an absolute belter.
The only thing is that that tone control is a bit iffy. It gets to the bottom when it's supposed to be low. It goes high again. Also, bit of noise on this. So that probably needs a bit of a clean up. The other thing I've noticed is the tuning can sort of get a bit stuck, so it's okay here. It obviously won't do this as I try and... Oh, there we go. So I'm turning it here and nothing's happening. Now it doesn't go out of sync, so it ends up being in the right place. So if I manage eventually to get it back to where it was supposed to be on 96, you may have to wait a while for this to happen. So let's get back to FM. It's still in the right place, so that's good. What it might mean is we just need to tighten up the spring on the tuning cord a little bit. Let's see if we can have a look inside it. Yeah, well, that didn't go as well as expected. In fact, it didn't go well at all. Once I tried shortening the cord and tightening the spring as a result, I turned this and nothing went round at all. So that was progress in a negative direction, which sadly we get used to after a while. So I decided to do a complete restring of everything. Do a complete restring of it, and that was a bit odd when I looked at the instructions for it. It says here that you should use approximately 72 inches of nylon cord. 72 inches, 6 feet of cord. I've never seen a radio take 6 feet of cord. In fact, it was about three and a bit feet. I don't know why they put that there, and yeah, it seems a bit odd. Anyway, restringing it completely according to instructions still didn't work. Why? There were a couple of things I found. One was this pulley here was a bit sticky, so you can't tell that when you've got all the cord on it because it's too tight, and so. But when you take everything off, it doesn't spin. So I sorted that one out. There's a bit of grit underneath that circlip there. The other thing was this tuning shaft here. It was just going round and round and round. And now I know there's lots of debates about whether or not you should rough up the shaft, missus. But in fact, I think this is a worthwhile thing to do on something of this age. Some people say it's an admission of failure issue. You get your tensions right. You don't need a rough shaft. But I'd done that, got a bit of sandpaper, and that seemed to improve it a bit. And the final problem I had was that this was now, every time I was turning this, it was okay going in this direction. Oh, sorry, it was okay going this direction, but this direction, this thing kept pinging off. So it was no longer aligned properly, and I thought, well, maybe I could space this out, but it's a 6BA, of course, and I don't have any BA spacers or washers or anything like that. So I came up with a brilliant idea, which is basically a bodge, but all my brilliant ideas are bodges, and all my bodges are brilliant ideas, it has to be said, of using some of this double-sided sticky, but only taking one side of it off. So I put a couple of pieces of that in there. If you can just about see that there, just under the, here. And that's just pushed it down far enough so it doesn't jump off the thingy anymore. And with a new spring, which is a bit tighter, there's a bit of a story behind the new spring as well, which is that the old spring pinged off while I was trying to put it in, and I couldn't find it. I have found it now, so we'll use that on another set that I wreck later on. Anyway, good news is, here we go. It goes all the way up and down now. Nicely. Much better than it did before. One of the things to note on here is this. This is a useful thing they give you. If you remember when, these videos don't necessarily get watched or appear in sequence, but if you remember the GEC, where I had to keep taking it out of the cabinet so I could see what station I was on, they've actually put datum marks on here for you so you can adjust it while you haven't got the thing together. I don't think any of this was out of alignment, so I'm not going to do any of that, but it's nice to know that that they thought about that. In fact, the more I see of this, I like the way this circuit board's laid out. I like the legends on it that show you where all the components are. I think it's actually quite a well-designed set. I'm prepared to forgive the amount of time I've spent and the amount of expletives I've uttered trying to sort this tuning cord out, because I think it's really good. I'll have more to say about that later. No, I'll tell you what, I'm going to say it now. Because people always go on about how British workmanship and British engineering in the 1970s were a load of rubbish. Well, I disagree. This is far easier to work on, and it's far better laid out, and I think it's a far better designed set than, say, the Grundig City Boy, which would certainly get more plaudits in terms of people saying, oh yes, it's German engineering. I'm not saying the City Boy's a bad radio, but it's not better than this. It doesn't sound better than this. All right, it's got a shortwave, fine, but I don't really want to listen to Radio Albania that often. I don't think it does anything better than this. So that's I started off with red radios, saying what a load of rubbish they were, and I've gone through some red radios now, which I think are pretty good. Maybe I'll do a quick update or short or something when I put all this back together so we can see this radio properly working again. But for now, that's all.